Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Pastor Walter Stuber of the First Presbyterian Church here, and I have a few practical announcements before we begin. Number one, if you could join me in the ancient Christian tradition of turning your cell phones off, or silencing them, that would be wonderful. Also, you'll see it mentioned in the program, but the reception will be at the Red Creek Fire Hall afterwards. And just a few things about that. We'll, at the conclusion of the service, have military honors, and then the pallbearers and the family and I will head out that door. If you could give us a moment to do that before going to the reception as well. Restrooms are immediately behind those double doors to my right and also to the left in the nursery. Okay, so that is all the preliminary information I think you need, and also would strongly encourage you to join me in singing Amazing Grace, which is hymn number 280 in the hymn book, and we're going to sing verses 1, 4, and 5 today. hear me now? Okay. The call to worship is printed on the left side of your bulletin. I will read the part where it says Pastor, if you would read the bold sections. Relatives and friends, let us begin our time together by being reminded of the Spirit that has brought us to this time and place. For Christ has been raised from the dead so that we can say, O death, where's your victory? O grave, where's your sting? Thanks be to God, who in Jesus Christ has shown us that there is life beyond the grave. We have come to this place to celebrate the fact that in Jesus Christ we have victory over both life and death. We have come to this place to celebrate the life, love, and spirit of Thomas Flickinger and the memorable experiences we have shared. Our presence here affirms the fact that there exists a great external power within us, eternal power within us called love, and this shall never die. It's a spirit of love that has brought us here today. It is the living spirit of God's love that has brought us together. It is our love for Thomas, love for one another, and love of life. Let us unite our spirits in praising God, who brings life out of death and hope out of despair. Our next hymn will be number 339, Be Thou My Vision, and we will sing all verses. Thank you. I met Tom 5 years ago at a Christmas Eve service when I was a new minister and was trying to make sure everything was going right. And my office happens to be next to the nursery where, of course, the diapers are too. And Shay, I believe, was 2 at the time and in desperate need of a diaper. So I helped him find the nursery and, do what needed doing. And I regret I only got to know him for 5 years. And he attended here regularly, but many of you all know him far longer and better. And so At this time, we'll have kind of a moment for friends and family to, lift her up a fond thought or a funny thought or whatever, the Spirit brings to you. As I believe the Holy Spirit does move in church, believe it or not, even a Presbyterian one. So I think maybe we had some family who are going to go first, and then we'll see how the Spirit moves us. Just raise your hand and I'll come to you with the mic. I promise you I don't have a shepherd's crook like the old gong show or anything like that. Okay, we'll give Mom the first privilege.
Jesus had him before he fell.
Amen. All right, amen. Okay, I think I saw Hannah here first.
I just want to say, we met Tom, I would say 8 years ago with Kelly, and the love that that man showed for his family is something that I will always remember.
I had to write this down. Tom was my hero, although he was only 5 minutes older than I was, and always reminded me of that. I always looked at him as my advisor, confidant, and helper. He was always looking out for me. I remember on the 2-mile Army physical fitness test, I always had a hard time running. I'm not a runner. Tom would always finish ahead of me. But he would always run back and run beside me the rest of my way, whispering encouragement and demanding more of me with a much sterner tone. After the war, Tom visited me at Fort Bliss when I was down there and came by to have lunch with me on post. We were by ourselves in the S3 operations shop. My old commander came in, Captain Wilson, who was not a good person, whom I had shared many stories with Tom about. And Tom simply sat where he was, looked up at him and said, "I know all about you." And I was aghast. But Captain Wilson never, ever held power over me again. Whenever I needed to be reminded of Christ's presence and power, his motto to me was strength and shield, strength and shield. And whenever I needed to be encouraged or reminded to stand up and be a man, his motto to me was the Roman motto, strength and honor, strength and honor. I haven't been able to get this song out of my mind since everything happened, so I'm just going to read you the lyrics and end it. The song goes like this: do right till the stars fall. Do right till the last call. Do right till there's no one else to stand by you. Do right when you're all alone. Do right though it's never known. Do right till Jesus comes. Do right, do right. And I can hear Tom echoing those words in my mind. So I leave you with 2 simple mottos that Tom left me: strength and honor and strength and shield.
Thank you.
So initially I had prepared statements, and then I figured I'm such a bad speaker that I wouldn't speak. But now I've decided it's probably hard for me to speak. I just wanted to say, thank you. My dad, last week, part of him passed on. He poured so much of his life and love into so many of us that there's a very real part of him that will never, ever pass. If any of you ever miss him so much that you're missing talking to him, you need to talk to him, you need to hear him, come talk to me, come talk to my sister, my brother, anyone that he poured his life into. And he'll speak to you. He'll speak to you through us and the wisdom that he brought to us. And that's what I have. I miss you, Dad. Strength and honor.
Thank you.
I knew Tom from the church, and then we became great friends. I used to call him son, he called me Pops. It was a great relationship. One thing that he always said, and always reminded me of, that he loved his family. When his boys got commissioned, his heart was popping right out of his chest. And Rachel, he was just a little darling he loved. Then he's got Shay over there, and Jacob. He was just a lovely guy and a lovely person. And I'm going to miss him. I had him as my pastor when I passed away, but now I got to look around. I didn't think I would be saying this, but I never figured on outliving him. But he was a great guy, and God bless him, and I know he's watching us. And Pops, as he would say, you got it. And he gave me that kiss, and always was smiling. God bless you, Tom.
Thank you.
I met Tom about 15 years ago at a turning point in my life when I wasn't really sure what church I was going to go to. I was going through a difficult time, and I knew I had to leave the church that I was presently at for personal reasons, and I ended up going to the church at Westbury. And I don't think I really understood who Jesus really was until I met Tom and the Flickinger family and the whole community of that church. And it carried on into his ministry in Fairhaven, and he taught me about grace and mercy and love, and that's the Jesus that I know now. And I know that every day is a new day, and I know that I have forgiveness and peace because this man taught me about the truth about Jesus, and he lived it, and he loved people, and for that we're able to continue to share that one with other people and carry that message on. So I thank Tom for that, for his family, and the love that they gave to me and my children.
Thank you. So, unfortunately, I only got to know Mr. Flickinger, Tom, for 5 months while dating his daughter. But, I mean, look at this crowd. Like, you can't ask for a better life. I mean, if any longer on earth, then we would have to get a bigger church. So, Tom gave me the best gift of my life, his daughter. I wish that I would have had more time with him, but in the time that I did know him, he made me feel so at home after such a short period of time. And if I have a son, I hope he grows up to be half the man that Tom was. Thank you. Okay, I don't think I see any other hands going up. Although, here's what I usually do. I say, like the auctioneers, going once, going twice, 3 times, and all God's children said, Amen. Amen. And I'd like to welcome Charlie and Rosie to speak some words for us. Unfortunately, this one's working better than the pulpit mic, but
I had to bring Syracuse lunch. Is this okay? Can you hear me, or do I need this? Okay, I'll go with this. Hopefully I can make it through this. Like Hal, I had planned on doing this just off the top of my head, but I knew I wouldn't be able to make it, and I'm going to try my best to hold it together. So bear with me. I came prepared. those who don't know me, I'm Charlie Rossi. Interestingly though, when I met Tom as a sophomore at Syracuse University, one of our ROTC instructors introduced me as Chuck. So naturally, in that circle of friends, I became known as Chuck. It's the only group of people that call me by that name. So I stand before you today as Chuck to honor a man who was, sorry, it's gonna be long. To honor a man who was the very first peer to call me by that name. In a way, it's fitting that Tom was that man. Let me give you a little of my background to put in perspective the significance of that and the impact it had on my life. When I entered Syracuse University as a sophomore, I was already married and had 2 children. I had just come off of active duty in the Army after having served as a sergeant literally a couple of weeks prior to starting school. I was looking to make some significant changes in my life, particularly getting a college degree and becoming an Army officer. Getting a new name, Chuck, was a good start to all the changes. When Tom welcomed me to SU's ROTC class of '89, he promptly put out his hand to shake mine and said, "Chuck, nice to meet you. Thank you for your service." Out of the hundreds of cadets, Tom was the only one that came up to me and did that. I think Hal followed short, 5 minutes behind. And by the way, I was right there with them running those 2-mile runs because I was not fast. Tom understood the significance of service, and that's why he thanked me. Whether that service is to country, to his God, or to others. I had a few other close friends while at SU, including Hal, and I still stay in touch with them. But my bond with Tom was deeper than most of my friendships. We regularly had deep and profound conversations discussing politics, religion, family, spirituality, sports, current events, you name it, we probably talked about it. These conversations weren't the ones that I had with other friends. With Tom, he was sincerely in the moment and passionate about what we were discussing. He didn't just want to share his knowledge like many people do. He genuinely wanted to know what my thoughts were, my interpretations, and my perspective on the subjects we discussed. He truly listened. In today's world, so many want to be heard, but very few want to listen. Tom wanted to listen, and he was a deep thinker, a man with great intellect. He was humble about it, and he didn't feel the need to boast of his knowledge, but he welcomed the opportunity to discuss just about anything. That kind of intellect and humility doesn't come often, but when it does, it's a beautiful thing. Now that he's gone and left our earthly world, that isn't gone. It was in his son David. I see those same characteristics and qualities. In the fine young man Tom was proud to call his firstborn son. When my oldest child, my son, was in his mid-teens, I had a falling out with him, a pretty bad one. I didn't see him for a few years. This is an experience many fathers have. And I was telling Tom about it over the phone, and I could hear him crying. I wasn't crying. And I said, "Why are you crying?" And he said, "Chuck, I'm feeling your pain." That was Tom. Of course, I lost it and started bawling like I'm doing right now. He told me about the prodigal son and said to be patient and have faith that my son would re-enter my life and that I would have a fulfilling relationship with him again. He was right. It took a few years, but I now have a great relationship with my son. That sense of understanding and compassion helped define Tom. And sometimes, not always, when the opportunity was right, he was able to turn a sorrowful moment into a lighthearted moment, helping to quell pain that might be present. We often joked about things, and he loved to tell stories. He was a great communicator, and I loved his laugh. In looking back this week over many photos of him, several of the images captured him right in the middle of his guttural laugh with his mouth wide open. And as I look at those photos, I can literally hear that laugh. His genuine sense of humor was one of a kind. I'm really going to miss that. I know you are too. The funny side of Tom was never very far from the serious side, but he knew where to draw the line, usually. His quick wit, ability to tell a one-liner or a full-blown joke, or his keen use of puns may not be heard from his lips anymore. But those characteristics and qualities are ever present in his second son, Michael. Tom was a man of faith, and he loved to share the Lord's word. He helped bring me to Christ, or at least he helped me see that Christ was there already waiting for me to open my heart. In fact, Tom and Carol took me and my wife to see and listen to Billy Graham at the Carrier Dome in the late 80s. I went begrudgingly, but I'm eternally grateful he helped lead the way. And that's exactly what he did. He led the way. He didn't try to convince me to go, and he didn't force me to go. He saw something in me that wanted to go, even though my mind wasn't 100% convinced. He led me there. Afterward, when we talked about it, what we had just experienced, I remember the smile, the glow, and the satisfaction that Tom exuded when I told him that I truly benefited from the experience and was thankful for having attended. This is just another of the many examples of how he helped lead in service to others. Those desires to serve and help others aren't lost by Tom's passing. Those characteristics and qualities are instilled in his beautiful daughter, Rachel, who's chosen a career path to help and serve others. Tom often spoke of how incredibly proud he was of his adult children. Every time I talked to him, he talked about his children, and Shay, and Jake, and Kelly. Every conversation. This was always followed by tears of joy. He often cried and told me that he's so thankful he installed the desire to serve God, country, and others in his children. And that's a true blessing. Life sometimes takes twists and turns that you don't necessarily plan for. We're here today because of one of those. I've experienced my fair share of twists and turns, and I'm sure most, if not all of you have in your own lives, in different ways, different forms, in different extent. Tom was no stranger to that as well. As Tom's life story unfolded, I was honored and blessed to be asked to be the best man at his wedding with Kelly. In fact, I met several of you at that wedding. I remember during my toast as his best man saying something to the effect that even though I have two brothers of my own, in ways I have a much closer brotherhood with Tom. Interestingly, my oldest brother passed away about 19 years ago, and I gave his eulogy too. And by the way, my brother that passed shared the same birthday as Tom and Hale, December 27th. Weird, huh? Anyway, preparing Tom's eulogy for some reason has been significantly more difficult for me. I'm not sure why. But I think part of it is I know the impact Tom's passing is going to be very hard on Kelly and Shay and Jacob. In spending time with them this week, I want to share a few observations. I see Tom's influence in Shay, even though she's so young. She has Tom's spirituality, sense of humor, and competitiveness. Yes, I played Go Fish with her, and Tom would be happy to know that she won every time. I didn't spend much time with Jacob. I talked to him for a few moments, but I know Tom was a good role model for him, and I know Jacob's reeling with the loss of Tom, as he had a strong and growing relationship with him. Kelly, as I told you before, you are so much stronger than you know. It probably doesn't seem like that right now, but it will in time. Tom will always be there with you. His smile, his laugh, his embrace, his spirit. He's there in your heart, and he'll always be there. To Mrs. Flickinger, I'm so sorry for your loss. To all of his siblings, extended family, and friends, I'm honored to have shared what I thought was going to be just a few minutes. I'm sorry, a little longer. I'm also honored to have served our country with Tom, but mostly I'm thankful he touched so many lives in such positive ways, mine included. And I want to leave you with one final thought. We all mourn Tom's passing, but take comfort knowing that God only takes those who are ready. We can't fully understand it, but Tom was ready. He'll be missed here on earth by all who were blessed to know him, and we look forward to seeing him again in heaven. You will be missed, my brother. I love you.
Thank you. Before the final hymn, you probably noticed that in the front of the program there was Psalm 23 written. Tom wrote that out by hand before he was going to read this as part of a church service. So I want to take a moment to read that, and then we'll sing our last hymn. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me lie down in green pastures, he leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil, and my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life. I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever.
When sorrows Together